Hello and welcome to a Woman on a Mission podcast, the online destination for women and men who want to create a life that they truly love, one without limits, one with more balance, more self-belief and endless possibilities for the future. I'm your host, Deborah Craig. I'm an intuitive life mentor and hypnotherapist, and every week I'll bring you guest experts, individuals with lived experience, and of course, I'll share client case studies so that you can experience some of the best ideas and solutions to help you solve real life problems so that you can live a happy and healthy life and of course become the best version of yourself every single day. You see, I've found that to reach our full potential in our careers, relationships, our health goals, and in life, we must take a look at what's going on the inside of ourselves, as this is where the change really starts. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and remember, leave feedback and comments so that I can continue to bring you content and guests that truly help you become the best version of yourself so that you can live a life that you love. Enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome everyone to this week's episode of my podcast. And today I have got the amazing Justine Antoska, as our topic is all about communication and effective communication. And most importantly, what's the impact in our lives and our experiences when we can't or don't communicate effectively with those others around us. So I'd like now to welcome on Justine. Thank you very much for joining me today, Justine. It's great to have you here.
Great to see you again, Debbie. Always enjoy our chats.
As always, as do I. And today is just exactly that. I'm looking just to have an informal conversation about our own experiences, either on a personal level and some of our client experiences in the communication space, because it's something that I find a lot with my own clients. They find it's a real struggle to create experiences in their life because of their inability to communicate effectively.
Absolutely. I think so many people are unaware that a lot of the problems that they have are actually caused by the inability to communicate. And I think once they understand that, it opens up so many doors.
I completely agree, and it is exactly why I've got you on today. So let me do a formal introduction for those that have never met you before. This is Justine Antoska. She is a connection architect, and she basically works with clients to transform their relationships from conflict to connection, one conversation at a time. She is Tony Robbins trained, NLP certified practitioner, and she has worked with many different clients and organizations in relation to communication. I have had the absolute pleasure of getting to meet and, well, virtually, and getting to know Justine over the last couple of years, because as we know, with the restrictions that were on us, not able to move around during COVID, I was, or as was all of us, moved more on an online platform. And through that experience, I met this wonderful woman, and we have both grown our businesses and helped each other's clients and developed in amazing ways. So I would like, first of all, to welcome Justine and ask you to, if you don't mind, share a few words about your own background. Where were you before you were coaching in this space? And really, what was it that encouraged you to move from where you were in your corporate, almost male-dominated environment into this amazing area of communication?
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. Predominantly, I'd always worked in male-dominated industries. So I was in the construction industry for a long time, and then I moved into the engineering industry. And it became very apparent that the communication is very, very different. Certainly, generally, there's different communication styles, but between the males and the females as well. And it was very difficult for females to be taken quite seriously, and for the males to actually listen to what was being said. I don't mean all males, obviously, but it was very much, and this is going back a few years as well, so we weren't quite as advanced as we are these days. But also, just to try and express an opinion, quite often you'd be shut down quite quickly. And then that led to not expressing opinions because you were, you didn't want to be made to look stupid or be dismissed. And that led to some feelings of, quite honestly, anger and resentment. And I realized then that actually, no, I wasn't very good at communicating myself. And also in my private life, I always seemed to attract very controlling men because I wasn't able to be assertive. I didn't know how to be assertive. So this seemed to be a pattern, and one that I was very keen to break. So I was starting to think about how I could overcome this. And I think I saw Tony Robbins one day, and I was just listening, and I thought, do you know what, that's amazing how he's helping these people. And I thought it would really work for me, and then I can help other people as well. So that's how it started. And have to say, best thing ever.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And what an inspiring story that you've actually taken your work experiences and your own personal experiences, but you decided to make a change on a personal level, which is obviously then led on to you making the changes for other people in their lives too. So that's really quite something. Do you mind sharing with me maybe an example or a common theme even of what you experience with client work?
Clients generally seem not able to be assertive, which I totally relate to. It's very difficult to get that balance between being assertive and getting your views and needs across without crossing that boundary and becoming aggressive. And that's what a lot of people end up doing because they don't know how to be assertive. So they become aggressive, and that causes a huge problem. And at the end of it, it's, a lot of the problems that are with the communication, as you mentioned earlier, is about getting needs met. And a lot of these people aren't aware of these needs because a lot of it is subconscious, and we don't think, oh, I need a hug or I need to be listened to. We just have these feelings. So that is what a lot of my clients struggle with, becoming aware of their needs that are making them behave in this way and unable to communicate what they need, and also being assertive, in conversations that they really need to be in order to stop them feeling resentful and angry later on.
I think you've just summed up so many of my client experiences in that really comprehensive explanation there, because it just shows that you've experienced it. I personally completely resonate with what you're talking about. It's like you're actually speaking about me. And I think any of our listeners will probably resonate quite deeply with this as well. And I think there's a couple of things to unpack there. One was in relation to not actually understanding what our own needs are. So we don't have that awareness, and what that can lead to, as you quite rightly pointed out, is frustration and anger, because we almost expect someone else to know what to do or how to help us or how to resolve whatever we are thinking or feeling. But the thing is, if we don't actually know what it is ourselves that we need, and then have the ability to express that in a way that's understood, how on earth can we ever get that met? And it's something so common with my clients. I speak a lot to people about having their needs met, as we've said. And I think one of the examples that springs to mind, one of the clients that I've worked with, or actually more than one, have experienced this, where they have life changes. Maybe they've gone on from being a couple to a couple with a family, and then there's children. So there's a lot more demands on each individual. And what I find is that sometimes one or both can feel that they are not able to do things that they want to do, or it's a perception that they're not able to carve out time for themselves like they maybe used to be able to do in the past. So what happens is, in the couple of examples of clients that I've had, is they have this expectation on their partner that they should know what to do, or they should know how to step in and help with the situation, but they don't, because nobody's a mind reader. That's that crystal ball thing that we talk about.
Absolutely.
How do they know? It's like we expect people, but that's hard, because most people are navigating life, trying their very best.
Yeah.
It's unlikely people are out there actively choosing to find ways to upset you and do things.
And we've all got different journeys, haven't we? So we wouldn't have, me and you haven't had the same experiences. So why would I understand what you're thinking or feeling? And I think, yeah, like you said, you know, perfectly, especially with new parents as well. That's a huge, huge thing.
Absolutely. And one of the factors that I was thinking about was working with, you actually articulated it really well when you said about having that ability to be assertive but not aggressive. It's completely different. And being able to just simply ask for what it is that you need. And sometimes I think as well, it's about, not that we need to explain ourselves specifically, but if people don't understand why we need something, how can they fully understand where we're even coming from? So if we don't give somebody a chance to explain, look, I need an hour to myself or 30 minutes to work on some of the things that I love to do, just 30 minutes a day. How could you help me filter that into life? And in my client experiences, there's been no problem achieving this. Sure, it's been tricky some days more than others, but in the main, they've been able to facilitate it, because people usually don't actively not want to help you. It's just our perception that that's what's going on.
And that's, like you said, you know, it's that crystal ball thing, isn't it? It's like assuming that they're not going to do this, or they won't say that. And again, like you said, that's where we need to help the clients to go, okay, so you have to ask that question. You don't know the answer. You don't know what they're going to say. Because I think that certainly used to be a big thing for me. I wouldn't ask because I think, oh no, they're too busy, and I'd be making assumptions, excuse me, that they were too busy to help me. When in actual fact, if I'd asked, they'd have said, oh yeah, sure, I've got a free day tomorrow. So
I think that's the thing. Like, I've done it myself before. I've been very known for not reaching out for help, and then I'm better now than I ever was, because I know myself better now. But I think you're always a bit, taken aback when someone's so open. And I think if you're notoriously, and whoever's out there might resonate with this as well, the one that's the fixer, the resolver, the coming in as the knight in shining armor, sometimes that even makes it difficult to ask for help, because you're so used to taking everything on your own shoulders. And there's a part of you, and sometimes that relates back to that sort of, trauma response of people pleasing, where for a long time in our lives, it was a way that we were validated. It was how we either received affection or how we got gratification. So it leads from childhood sometimes all the way through to adulthood. And then there's this excessive people pleasing.
Definitely did with me.
You as well. Yeah. And what I always share with clients is, so if you're pleasing everybody else, so if you're out there doing something for other people all the time, two things. One, who's helping you? And I usually say that one sentence to a client and they just, complete shock, like, I've never thought about that before. And it's back to what you talk about, self-awareness. If you can't identify your own needs, how can you ask for what you need? And I think there was a client not that long ago I was speaking to, and I think you might resonate with this, or maybe your clients, you can chip in if you do. She was talking about how she's tired and frustrated, and in fact, I've just remembered another client, so it's obviously a very common theme. Everybody, almost like everybody wants a piece of me. Like I'm the go-to, I'm the this and I'm that. And I shared with these clients, okay, I hear what you're saying, but instead of being angry with these people because they always want from you, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you've always given, how are they going to know that it's not appropriate?
Absolutely.
Or it's too much?
Absolutely.
We're not setting out our own healthy boundaries.
No. No, and I had a client that was always being asked, this was in a work situation, always being asked by a colleague, oh, can you just help me with this? And so they would help and help. They would be getting behind with their staff, and then working longer hours to catch up with their own stuff. And they were getting tired and they were getting angry and they didn't want to fall out with this person, but they were just so. And I said, but there's ways of being assertive. It doesn't mean to say you have to say no. There are ways of saying no, and it could just be, well, if you'd like to go and have a look at it at the moment, because I'm working on this, when I finish this, I'll be free to help. So you don't have to go, no, go away, I don't want to help you. There are ways of saying it. And just helping this client with just a few little phrases like that. And it really, really helped. This person that kept asking them started to try it themselves first. And then when they got stuck, come over. So it got less and less time that they were asking.
You've hit the nail on the head right there again, exactly what we're talking about. If we're always acting the same way, responding, behaving, we're not setting the right precedent. So it's an invitation for people to continue on the same way. So it turns to the point where you say, well, at what point is it other people's responsibility? Yeah. You know, it's got to come back to ourselves to decide how we want to be treated. And you're talking about that example. I have another client that exactly the same situation, saying yes to everything, ending up backlog of work, stressed, you know, going on holiday and needing 2 days on holiday before they could start enjoying their holiday because they couldn't decompress. Now, I'm glad to say that she's moved significantly past that. And that's because she's maintaining her own workload now. She's getting better at working in the moment with anything that comes up. But most importantly, it's remembering, as you said, you don't have to say, no, get away from me. That's what we think when we say no, that the person hears from us. But in actual fact, a simple, I'd love to be able to do that. However, unfortunately, right now I'm working on a couple of bigger projects. Yeah. So if it can wait for a week, I could probably have a look then. If not, unfortunately, and is there so-and-so could maybe help you instead? Or have you looked at this piece of information? Because I know that when I read that, I understood how to do X, Y, and Z. There's always other ways.
It's what I call softer no's. You know, there's ways of saying it that isn't like a flat out like no. And also, I think, in all honesty, it is definitely about boundaries, and our boundaries are our responsibility. But I do also warn clients that when they start to learn to become assertive, the people, they will get pushback. Mm-hmm. People that are so used to getting what they want from our clients, always saying yes, are suddenly not going to get what they want. So there may be a little bit of pushback from these people. Mm-hmm. And I find it important to let my clients know that this could happen, because otherwise, if they're not already quite strong in practicing their new assertiveness skills, that bit of pushback can put them right back to where they were. So, and that again is giving them key phrases and techniques to stand firm on what they're saying, until eventually either these people that were only ever out for an easy life go out of their lives, or they start to accept and respect the boundaries and act within them. So
100%, completely agree. And the whole ethos there that you're talking about what we're saying yes to for somebody, I ask my clients to think about, well, what are you saying no to? Because if you're saying yes to them to help them, what are you saying no to? And the likelihood is, if you're working overtime and you're taking work home, you're choosing yes to help them, which is great and admirable, but you're saying no to self-care, personal time, switching off, family time, whatever it is that you would be doing in your own free time.
And then often that would then translates into problems in the relationship, because the person saying yes to work is then tired and irritable, perhaps a bit snappy at home, and then that causes its own issues. So not just, that contained at work, is it? It goes to the relationship as well.
That's something that I talk about.
If there's something going on at home, sometimes that can go into work as well. So
Mhm.
I think, and it's not always apparent that that is what's going on. We don't always know there's a crossover. We just think, oh, home life isn't great, and then I go to work and that's not great, but we don't connect the two. And I think that is really important to help this awareness with our clients.
I couldn't agree more. And that very much resonates with a number of clients that I've worked with, where they are struggling with work because they've got backlog, they can't say no, it's piling up. And then a family member pops round and, you know, they're like a cat in a hot tin roof with them because they just can't settle and enjoy a cup of tea and a conversation, because they've got 1,000 things in their head that they want to be elsewhere because they've got this huge backlog. And when we take control of that and wade through and clear what we need to clear out, but most importantly, it's not just about clearing a backlog. That's fine, because I worked in corporate myself and I know what it's like to clear a backlog and that sense of relief. But the thing is, unless we change our habits, and that includes setting healthy boundaries, saying no, but also saying yes to the things that you want to say yes to. It's a two-way street. And you hitting something really interesting when you talked about being able to say no and getting some pushback, and how that if you had been met, or you get met with you know, that sort of, maybe not a negative response, but certainly a response that you don't really want, because they're so used to hearing yes from you that it's a shock to their system. But you said something I thought was really important, and it's about building yourself up. And that's one of the key things that I specifically work on with clients, is their emotional resilience. Because you're right, you know, it's one thing for us to sit here after doing all this work on ourselves and working with clients and go, yeah, just say no. But actually, you know, it takes time to get there. There's no, you don't wake up one night and the next day go, that's me, and I know how to start saying no to everybody, because it's
like any skill, it takes practice, and communication is a skill, and it needs to be practice.
It really does.
And until such time as it becomes your habit, that is your behavioral habit now, is to communicate that way. So, and that's what I think people generally struggle with, is it's not a one and done.
No.
It's just not. And then they come up against these people that try and make them feel guilty, or they get aggressive because they're not getting the answers they used to get. And unless they keep practicing, it's so easy to fall back into being the people pleaser and just taking on too much again.
Well, as we know, in the whole neuroscience world and the brain and everything we know about it, the brain loves the familiar, even when the familiar is not good for us. It is familiar. And, you know, when we're people pleasing, we are getting something out of that. There's a level of gratification that we're getting. And, you know, what we're looking to find is, well, where else can I feel that contentment or that gratification or validation even that we want? And it's about finding it within, having that strength within us to build ourselves up, so that we don't need that from external validation. And that's when,
and again, it goes back to meeting needs, doesn't it? So, and learning that we can get that feeling, but in a healthier way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things you spoke about earlier as well was about, you know, we can talk about how to say no, and we'll give tips at the end and all that, and that's brilliant. But I think one of the key things is, if you don't actually know what it is you want or you need, you're probably going to find it even trickier to get through it. And I think being able to, whether it's talk with someone, a friend or an expert, you know, whoever it is, or even just self-reflection time, I think people really undervalue that opportunity to sit down with a notepad. And, you know, I think in this world that we live in, the word journal is overused. I still use it because I actually use a journal, but I know that some people think, oh God, here we go with the woo-woo stuff or whatever. But take the word journal out, even just call it a notebook, it doesn't matter. Just having a bit of a thought record about, when I did this for this person, yes, I felt good, but instantly I was tired, which made me feel bad. Or I did this for this person expecting the validation and the praise, because that's what I need and that's what I'm looking for. And I didn't get it. So then I felt really bad about myself. Like, did I not do a good job? Am I not good enough? But the fact is, if we just weren't seeking that validation in the first place from this external source, then we wouldn't be in that place.
No. And that's something, you know, I say to clients to try and help, you know, one of the things to bring awareness is what do you want from doing this? How do you want to feel? So then once we understand what they want and how they want to feel, then you can start bringing in, okay, so what else can you do that would give you that feeling, but wouldn't have the negative side? So, but like you said, you know, it's so much is about awareness. If you're not aware you've got a problem, you're not going to seek help. So, you know, I often say, if you're not feeling good consistently, we all get days, don't we? But if you're feeling good consistently, there is a problem. And it might not be a big problem, but there is a problem. So, and again, if you're not feeling good in your relationship and you're arguing all the time, clearly there's a problem. And sometimes it's just a really simple thing that can get you back on track and helping to deepen that connection, which is what I'm all about, because I feel we are designed to be connected. Human beings are not designed to be isolated. And I think when you've got a good connection, you feel so much more empowered in yourself, because you know that you have the skills to create that connection. And I think that in itself is a massive thing and can, you know, impact your whole life. So
I couldn't agree more.
You know,
I actually couldn't have said it any better myself.
I'm sure you could have done.
Not likely. You summed it up in such a way that it resonated with me, because my life is different because of my ability to now communicate more effectively. I was the eternal people pleaser, and I now know, and that's why I do what I do as well, because I like to help clients on their own personal journey internally, transforming from the inside, so that they, as you say, they get to live that life that they're really happy in. And we're not saying that you're going to be, you know, completely screaming from the hilltops every day with joy.
No.
But consistently, most days, feeling happy and content in your own life and in your own skin.
Absolutely. And also, even if you do get a day that, you know, oh God, this is just so, you know, boring, it's so dull, I feel rubbish, they will have the skills, they will have the techniques that will help them know what they need to do to stop feeling that way. And I think that is something that we both do that I think is so important. We give them techniques and skills that they can use long after they finish with us.
Absolutely.
And they have that to fall back on. So they don't need to fall back into old patterns, because they have the wherewithal and the awareness of what they need to do to start things back on track.
Absolutely. And that just leads us absolutely perfectly into us sharing a few little tips that we've probably covered during this chat, but we can summarize them in a few really helpful tips just before we finish up. And before we do that, I just want to actually really thank you, Justine, for coming on today.
My absolute pleasure.
Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm so sure that there'll be people out there listening to this with light bulbs flashing all over the place going, oh, that's me. And I'm going to start applying some of this. Now, if you would like to reach out to either myself or Justine, then obviously you can contact me directly. You've probably got all my details, and I'll be putting them into the information when I'm sending out this podcast to all of my audience. And if you would like to contact Justine, you want to specifically work on this piece of work in an area of your life, then she is the woman for you. I would love to share all her contact details, which I will, but for quickness and for ease, if you would like to, Justine, just share the fastest way for anyone who's listening that might want to reach out to you straight away, how would they contact you?
The easiest and quickest way is my email address. So it's Justine, Justine, at ja-coaching.co.uk. So that's Justine at ja-coaching.co.uk.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, let's share a few tips before we round off for this excellent episode, and thank you again. So for me, my tips are remember to ask for help. This is something that I find people just don't do because they think that they're going to get a no. So don't assume that you're going to get a no. Be prepared if it's a no that you've got a backup, but give it a go and ask for help. The chances are most people do want to help you. And the second one is ensure that you're also getting your needs met as much as you're meeting other people's. This is not a one-sided thing. So we're talking today about getting your needs met, but that means that you're also responsible in a relationship, personal, interpersonal, whatever it is, for helping others to have their needs met too. It is a two-way street. So make sure that there's a balance in there, and it's probably in personal relationships, it might go unbalanced at different times, but that's because sometimes we need more than others, and then they might need more. But in the main, as long as there's a balance, then all will be good. And Justine, your tips?
Well, I've got two. I've got listen to understand, not respond. And this is so important. I think most of us have, at times, if we still don't, when we're listening to somebody talk, we're listening and we're already constructing our reply. We're already thinking, or you might even be thinking, oh, what am I going to get for tea? You're not paying attention to what that person's actually saying. Now, first of all, you can actually miss something really important. So you might then ask a question, and this is particularly more probably work related, but you might then ask a question that this person's actually already answered in what they're saying. And that's never good. But secondly, by listening to understand, really put your mind on what this person's saying so that you can see from their point of view what they're trying to say to you. If you can understand from somebody else's point of view, doesn't mean you have to agree, but if you can understand where they're coming from, it makes it a lot easier to see why they've done what they've done, why they've said what they've said.
Couldn't agree more. That
can help avoid arguments. And my last one would be, don't use the blame game when trying to express how you feel. So rather than say, you make me feel so angry because, it's much better if you try and say how you feel. So I feel so upset when you, whatever. So try and use that. And it makes people less aggressive. They don't feel attacked. They're more concerned about how you feel. So hopefully you get a much better response.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm sure I'll have you back on again at some point in the future.
It's been great. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it, Debbie.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you've taken away something valuable, even a golden nugget that will help you move forward with your life so that you can become the best version of yourself and really have that life that you love. So I will see you back here every Tuesday. A new episode will be released, same time, same place. And if you want to sign up so that you're notified when these new episodes are live for you to listen to, then all the details will be in the description. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.